You know when you finish a video and the sound effects just feel kind of weird, so you adjust the volume, add a few more sound effects here and there, but nothing really fixes it. Most people think good sound design means adding more sounds, but that's actually one of the reasons their videos end up feeling worse. Good sound design isn't about making the audience notice the sound, it's about making them feel something without even realizing why. Sound should support what the eyes are seeing, not compete with it. Try keeping your sound effects around -16. However, not every effect needs to be at the same volume. If you are not talking at the moment, the sound can be louder. This highlight is just a small detail while I'm talking, but when there's no dialogue, it suddenly becomes the main character. Now, if the problem is the context of the sound, let me give you a few examples of how to fix that. Think about a Minecraft video. Using sounds of the game, memes, or even other games usually makes sense because they match the energy of the content. Sharp sounds, impacts, and other effects can feel natural because they belong to the same universe as the video, and they usually use a lot of them.
In this challenge is to survive on this dinky island, transform it into a paradise, defeat all of the hungry sharks, including the Megalodon boss.
And the same applies if you're making an educational video or a vlog. Adding a bunch of dramatic impact sounds probably won't help. It will just pull attention away from what you're saying. In those types of video, sounds work more like a punctuation. A small click when the text appears, a pop for objects, a little camera sound for transitions. The effect should feel like it belongs in the video, not like you randomly found a cool sound effect and just wanted to use it. The best way to improve the context of your sound design is by studying your niche. But don't just watch videos. Study the decisions. Why did they add a sound here? Why was it loud? Why did they choose silence instead? They're creating intention behind an action. That's the difference between simply adding sounds and actually designing sounds. Something that helped me understand sound design a lot was watching animations, but I don't just mean realistic cinematic animations. Even simple cartoon animations are great examples because they do something very important. They make an action feel real without being literal. A simple pop sound might actually be the sound of a marker cap opening. A transition sound might come from a rock slide across the ground. The goal isn't to find a sound that literally represents what's happening, it's to find a sound that creates the feeling you want the action to have. But the important part is that not every action needs a sound. The beginning of a sentence can have a click sound, but not every word needs a sound. In the same way, you don't need to use the same sound for everything. Not every transition needs the exact same camera effect. A simple question can help you choose better effects. What sound should this movement make? Because every sound should have a purpose. Want something to feel special or important, a sharper, more noticeable sound can work well, especially if it feels different from what you've been using until that point. But be careful. If you overdo it, putting a pop effect on every caption or a whoosh in every transition, the video will start to feel chaotic. The sounds might make sense individually, but there are simply too many of them. Sometimes, this can even make the audience feel overwhelmed because of the amount of audio stimulation. They start paying more attention to processing the effects than to the story, and you lose their attention and retention. Sound design is about controlling emotion. I used to focus on the visuals, the cuts, the animations, because that's the important part, right? Making the visuals look professional, because that's what people are actually seeing. Then I would add sounds almost like a decoration, but sound is not a decoration. It changed the rhythm and emotion of your video, even more than beautiful animations. That's why I recommend thinking about the music and sound effects together. A simple way to do this is to choose music based on the theme of the section of your video. For example, this section you're watching right now is about controlling emotion, so I choose something with an indie vibe to connect with it. But when I want to transition into the next section, I can switch to something with a completely different rhythm. That contrast makes the emotional shift much more obvious obvious to the viewer's brain. I also tend to change the music roughly every 2 or 3 minutes, but this depends a lot on the type of video you're making. Art, educational content, and vlogs can usually get away with longer music tracks, while gaming videos might change music every minute or so. Something I like to do for music transitions is add a bit of reverb to the end of the track. There are other great ways to transition between songs, like switching the tracks right after a moment of silence or blending the beats of 2 different songs together.
I spent a long time trying to figure it out. And this is what I found out. But first, let me tell you about an experience I had when I was younger. I did draw a little back then, and I was also a huge fan of anime.
And sometimes, the music already creates the emotion I wanted, so I don't even need to add another sound effect. When the music is already guiding the mood of the scene, your effects have a much clearer purpose. Instead of asking, what sound effect should I add here? You start thinking, does this even need a sound effect? One of the biggest mistakes I've made, and I see a lot of creators making, is trying to force a level of epic production that the video doesn't actually need. You know those giant cinematic rise sounds before a review that isn't actually that epic? We hear these effects so often that we start associating them with professional content. They are supposed to help with retention, so you start using them without knowing why. But sometimes they just make the video feel noisy. People can feel when you're trying to force an emotion that the story hasn't earned. Even the silence can be powerful. Removing the music for a few seconds before an important moment can make the next sentence feel much more impactful than adding a generic rise. A good rule is, add the necessary effects first, then add the effects you want, and ask yourself, will the audience understand this scene better because of this effect? One thing I always do and recommend you try is opening one of your videos and turning off the music and your voice. Listen only to the sound effects. Usually you will find few effects that were actually making the edit worse, or you will find moments where you could add something, because learning what to remove is actually part of learning how to edit better. Now, where do you find good sound effects? Honestly, YouTube is already a great place to start. There are thousands of sound effects for gaming videos, commentary videos, vlogs, and almost every other type of content. Just search for your niche plus sound effects. And when you're starting out, I wouldn't worry too much about buying huge sound packs. Most of them contain thousands of sounds you will never use. A smaller library that you actually understand is much more valuable, because searching for your own sounds teaches one of the most important skills, understanding why a sound belongs in a specific moment. Because that's what good sound design does. It disappears, so the story can stand out. Hey guys, I injured my hand this week, so videos might take a little longer to come out since I'm editing a bit slower, but let me know in the comments what topic would you like to see in the next video. I see you in the next one, bye!